Good morning, everybody. We are here to get kicked off for today's session. I'm delighted to be joined on the stage this morning with three friends. We have Special Representative Dorothy McAuliffe from Global Partnerships. We've got Mayor Tishaura Jones from St. Louis, Missouri. And Mayor Kate Gallego from Phoenix for a conversation on public-private partnerships to build inclusive 21st century cities. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
I didn't give broad introductions. I wanted to just announce you, but I'd like for you to just take maybe a minute and a half to just tell us who you are, tell the audience who you are, and then we'll get ready into the questions that we've got this morning.
Great. Well, good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here in Miami Beach, always, and nice to see you all joining us this morning for the first panel of the day at Smart Cities. We appreciate that. I am Dorothy McAuliffe. I am the Biden appointee, recently appointed to the Office of Global Partnerships at the State Department. And we are focused on facing the United States' most pressing global and national security challenges. And we do it in a little bit different way at our office at the State Department. We build partnerships, and we are focused on implementation of policy. And so I look forward to talking more about that and hearing from my great panel of mayors here. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Did everybody have your coffee yet? Good morning. I am Tishaura Jones, the 47th mayor of the city of St. Louis, Missouri, and the first black woman mayor of that city. And I'm just so excited to be here because I'm a nerd and I love technology. So this is putting all of my loves right in the same place. So look forward to having a conversation with you today.
Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego, it is a pleasure to be with you. Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the United States and fastest growing. By background, before running for office, I worked in the utility industry, including some significant time in the innovation group trying to bring the best technologies forward. Have an MBA in entrepreneurship, and I was hoping to be an entrepreneur myself, but now hopefully get to build a city that is great for entrepreneurs to do business in, and so glad to be with this distinguished panel, including our conference leader, Mayor Davis.
Thank you so much, ladies. I'll begin our conversation with Special Representative McAuliffe. You've been involved in politics for a long time, but now you get an opportunity to be involved in this intersection between cities, particularly around this conversation of building 21st century cities. But in your new role, you've got a unique opportunity to help cities, mayors, and other leaders bridge that gap between public-private partnerships. Can you talk about that and your office's role in helping to facilitate and make that happen?
Thank you, Mayor. Sure can. This is a huge priority for President Biden and Secretary Blinken to focus on subnational diplomacy and the importance of bringing together the local leaders, cities, states, municipalities together with the federal government as we seek to confront the world's most pressing global challenges. We know that mayors, my colleagues here on the stage, are on the front lines every single day of confronting those national and global challenges, whether it's climate change, gender equity, economic development, COVID recovery and response, pandemic response. And so we have a lot to learn, and we have a lot that we need to work together on. And so there is a renewed and reinvigorated commitment by this administration to work with cities, our local leaders, to make sure that we are getting the best, most innovative ideas, and we are supporting those ideas through programs that I can talk about later in my office, like supporting entrepreneurship, opportunity, job creation, and the intersection. A really important focus is the intersection of these challenges with racial injustice, racial inequities, and how do we create opportunity across America to help solve these challenges and to include all Americans and to make foreign policy relevant and understood to Americans. The important work that we do across the globe directly impacts, whether it's trade, climate change, impacts on communities, directly impacts our American citizens. And that is what bringing together these types of conversations, but more important, action together, will help drive in terms of opportunity for all Americans. And that really is that is the framework for which we are operating in this Office of Global Partnerships and across the State Department.
I'll give you one more question, and then we'll come back around. Give us an example, if you will, of how cities, I know we've got a number of practitioners that are in the audience, city leaders, council members, but also our private sector partners are here as well. Give us an example of how we can engage using your office in establishing those types of partnerships and what's available to us.
Well, so when we think of private sector, we think broadly across academia, private business, civil society organizations, local and state governments, across the gambit of private sector, anything that is not USG, U.S. government. And an example would be, we've got a program we're working with Special Envoy on Climate Kerry's office called Connecting Climate Entrepreneurs. And we're looking to cities to create hubs of innovation and support, and whether it's across data, design, access to capital, we're looking to partner with cities to create these city hubs so that we can foster entrepreneurship and make impact on climate resiliency, which is so important to cities and communities, whether it be sea level rise, drought, you name it, all the fire, like all the challenges we're facing around climate really are hitting home most directly. Our cities and counties feel it most directly, and so that's where we want to partner and invite cities to join with us to think about how are we supporting entrepreneurship, which also creates economic opportunity. That's one example of the work that we're doing in our office. So we invite everyone from private sector, whether you're city, local government, academia, small business, we want to have you as a partner in that work, creating this platform across the country and across the globe.
That's fantastic. Mayors Jones and Gallego, as mayors, we oftentimes have this tool in our toolkit called P3s. But the challenge for us oftentimes is knowing which partners are right for our cities. Can you talk about public-private partnerships in your work? I know that both of you have done some phenomenal things, semiconductors, transforming people's lives. Talk about that, particularly around partnerships for 21st century cities.
Well, thanks for that question. Before I became mayor, I was treasurer for the city of St. Louis, which is an independently elected position. And I got to tell you, it's the most unique elected official in the world, because not only was I the chief investment and cash management officer, I was also the parking supervisor. So I used P3s to transform our parking division. It was stuck in the 19th century, and we brought it to the 21st century. Upgraded our entire meter inventory, also collected more than cash. We were only collecting cash in 2013. Who's only collecting cash? We were. So totally upgraded our system and used private industry to do so. The city still retains ownership of the hardware and the software, but where we brought in private industry was to find a good partner to then manage that. So our private partner manages meter maintenance and collection. They also manage booting, and then we manage the towing. So we also still set policy and set the rates. So it's a really good relationship, and it requires a lot of communication and collaboration. But the public doesn't see anything of what goes on behind the scenes. And as mayor, I took that same spirit and brought it to the mayor's office. So we are partnering with Worldwide Technology, which is the largest Black-owned, privately owned technology company in the world, actually. And they're headquartered right in St. Louis. And so they have been bringing private industry tools to the city because this is their first foray into working with municipalities. So we've been doing ideation sessions with our staff. They have put our ARPA surveys on Tableau, helping us synthesize data. So, because a lot of times municipalities don't have the tools or the people who have the expertise to do that because we can't compete with private industry when it comes to pay. So P3s are how we upgrade our systems and how we collect and synthesize data using private industry to do so.
Since Special Representative McAuliffe mentioned climate change, I'll talk about some things we're doing with our entrepreneurs in that area. We created a resource innovation campus that takes things that used to go into our landfills and turns them into products of the future. So we have a company that will take plastics and turn them into fuel pellets. If you've been to Phoenix, you've seen our many beautiful resorts with the palm trees. Palm fronds have been a real challenge for us, and in talking about the campus on NPR, a company from another community came in and said, we have a solution, so they wanted to be part of our campus. The Global Mayors Group, C40, is now helping us design the coolest building ever with most advanced technology and reused materials for the centerpiece of that campus, and it's just been a wonderful opportunity also for global companies that are interested in a North American outpost. There's some countries like the Netherlands that are doing really advanced things in this area, and we're excited about partnering with them and just saying, you know, if you're looking throughout the United States, where do you want to be? We are trying to be on the forefront on climate change. We also have a citywide office that looks at heat and solutions to heat, and that office has had a great record of partnering with entrepreneurs to address challenges in that area. No one has ever said to me, Mayor, we want Phoenix to be hotter in the summer. And they've come up with solutions, like we have a cool pavement program where we have now, I think, the largest in the country program to put a lighter colored coating on our city streets. Arizona State University has found that it is 10 to 12 degrees cooler at peak when we have that lighter coating. So it's tangible, it's enough that you can feel, and we get parents all the time saying, you know, we want the cool pavement program in our neighborhood so that our kids can be out playing more and enjoying the community. It's just been wonderful to see how many entrepreneurs have wanted to be part of the solutions, and that's very inspiring.
Kate, I'll stay right there with you. You talk about cool pavement. Obviously, it impacts neighborhoods right in the very heart of where we are in cities. Can you talk about, from your perspective, all the way on the West Coast of Arizona, we're here in South Beach, Miami, weather's changed, all of those things. How do you build, or from your perspective, what's necessary for an inclusive 21st century city when there are so many different needs in communities that then make that city a smart city?
Well, as technology's advanced, it's allowed us to take City Hall more out into the community and really go where people are. Sometimes that's taking services, so we have a mobile career unit that will go out and do workforce and have beautiful screens where you can do an uplink and interview on the spot in your community. We've found many people are not always willing to go into our workforce center, but if we're at their church parking lot, they feel more comfortable. The mobile career unit let me interview for a job at our local downtown hotel, but I didn't get it, so I'm here with you today. And that has been just a nice, and we've done that with census, and we did that, like many cities, with COVID programs to really go out in the community, which I think has helped us with our equity goals. We're trying to use data as much as possible to make decisions, so it's not who calls City Hall the most often to complain that gets the resources, because that disproportionately pushed resources towards wealthier neighborhoods. But from everything like pavement maintenance, we just have a van that goes out and scans all of our potholes and tries to be data-driven about where we make the upgrades. We're upgrading our water system with a partnership company called Cando that does advanced data and AI on the water system so that we can have the very best real-time data and detect problems earlier, which is a big opportunity for a desert city like Phoenix.
Fantastic. Mayor Jones, I pose the same question to you. Our conversations focus around public-private partnerships to build 21st century cities. I know there's been a lot that's happened in St. Louis. You've got a fabulous partner in WWT, but there are others. How have you leaned in to help accelerate an inclusive and equitable and smart St. Louis?
Well, one of the areas we're also focusing on is public safety. And we all know that public safety, as far as deployment, as far as how people have encountered first responders and police, hasn't always been equitable. In fact, if you're black, you're 2 to 3 times more likely to get stopped by police than if you're white. And now we're at the end, or still in the middle of a project with the Center for Policing Equity that has really shown us the data on stops, on our deployment strategies, on calls, and we're using that data to make decisions about how we're going to structure our police department into the future. And that has ruffled a lot of feathers, but I didn't get into this to be polite and kind. I got into this to make some change. And when you show people the data that police that are primarily in white neighborhoods don't get as many calls as police in primarily black neighborhoods, the data is startling, and you can't argue with what the data is showing. But when you tell them that, and they think that you're going to take their police and put them somewhere else, well, possibly. We want to deploy our resources in the smartest way possible, because we all know it is very difficult to hire police officers and actually employees in all city departments right now, because we're in the middle of a great resignation coming out of COVID. So many competing interests are happening at the same time. So we have to use data in our deployment and our strategy and in our public safety strategy as a whole to also, say, well, maybe police aren't always the right people to deploy to certain situations. CPE has shown us that almost 20% of our calls can be answered by a totally civilian service officer that doesn't have anything to do with officers. And we all know that sometimes if you send an officer, that could end up in someone being severely hurt or dead. So we're trying to be smarter, using data to make our decisions, and also using data to make our deployment strategies.
That's fantastic. I'm going to come back to you, Special Representative McAuliffe. You've been involved in the work of government and certainly cities, First Lady. Now you are the frontline lady on helping to build partnerships with cities. Just last week, I was having a conversation with some colleagues of mine, former Mayor Steve Benjamin of Columbia, South Carolina, Michael Hancock, Denver, and we were sharing this discussion around private partnerships. And I made this statement that when we're looking to have partnerships, don't sell me anything. Mayor Benjamin, he then put icing on the cake and said, as mayors, we want you to ask us our priorities. Start there first. In your role, how are you looking to engage cities now that we are in the very advent of once-in-a-generation lifetime of ARPA dollars? There's so much federal funding, bipartisan infrastructure dollars, Inflation Reduction Act, ECP. All of these dollars are coming to and are available to cities, and there are partners that want to work with us. Your office can truly help facilitate that. How do you look to engage cities?
Well, I appreciate the question, and I appreciate the acknowledgement of this is such a historic time in terms of the influx of capital into our country, into our nation, and to help us solve these pressing challenges. And to giving, as it was mentioned in a dinner we were last night, the trust that's being put into localities and cities in terms of distribution of these dollars, right? So looking to local leadership for how we are spending the money, which has been for a long time an overlooked priority in terms of the United States government. So recognizing, being humble, recognizing that the U.S. government is not the end-all, be-all of solutions for the nation or the world, but that we need to work together, that we need to tap into both the leadership experience and responsiveness that local governments have to the people. That is such an important piece of this. What my office will look to do is we are about resources in every sense of the word, too. We do a lot of, we've leveraged over the last 14 years, we've worked with 1,600 partners just in my little office of 17 folks, which has grown. Actually, it wasn't that big at the beginning, 14 years ago. 1,600 partnerships that have leveraged $4 billion in capital. So we don't have a lot of resources, particularly in my office, but what we do is try to build by giving both credibility and opportunity and creating networks, the ability to look to the local, we want to look to local leaders and local communities to find those solutions, to pilot, to innovate, to work together with business, to find those solutions that government may not know. We may not have all the answers. We know we don't, actually. And so that's the importance of our office, is to be outward facing, looking to engage and work together, whether it's on programming around career pathways for girls in low resource communities who would not have curriculum or access or face barriers to STEM and STEAM opportunities, both at home and abroad. And how do we partner with others to bring those resources to bear so we create opportunities to grow our workforce capacity in tech, in engineering, in STEAM, in medicine. And so that's what we're doing. That's what I'm focused on. That's what our team is focused on, is we're looking outward to figure out where those great solutions are. And we want to be a resource to those across the country and around the world to leverage. That's what we're all about.
There's so much that's happening in our country, and oftentimes as mayors, our plates are already full. Even sometimes from a private sector standpoint, we're focused on what's in front of us right now. How do we connect with your office? How do we make sure that we can tap into those resources as well as the human capital that exists in your office? How can we do that? Because all too often, we just don't know about it.
Right. Well, that's why I'm here. I'm here today, and I'm proud to represent the State Department at this Smart Cities Conference. And I think convenings like these are really important for the one-on-one engagement that happens, the small group engagement that happens, and then larger panels like this. We have to be present. We have to be there, and we understand that mayors are busy every single day confronting the immediate challenges, and so we have to reach out. I also want to highlight and invite all the mayors here with me today that the first annual City Summit being hosted by the State Department was announced by Secretary Blinken at the Summit of the Americas in June, and so that will bring together cities and leaders from across the Western Hemisphere to convene in Denver in 2023, April of 2023, to again have these conversations, have the opportunity in the moment to think together, and then to follow up with action. That's really the most important piece. But I think we have to be present. We have to show up. And that's why I'm here today, and I'm proud to be here today and to be with all of you. And you can reach my office at partnerships@state.gov. So certainly, please do reach out. We're looking to connect and to work together.
That's fantastic. I'll take what you just said at the end there. You showed up. Mayors, every day we have to show up. We don't get a day off. It's always a day on.
I take a day off.
Absolutely. You and I both. And so to that end, in our final moments, talk about what it is to be present in cities that you're working to make more inclusive and more equitable. And how are you doing that in our final question?
Yes, so for those of you who don't know, St. Louis is one of the top 5 most segregated cities in the country. And I took over at a great time in our nation's history, in that I am going to be able to deploy a good amount of our ARPA dollars to areas that haven't been invested in decades. I live in a primarily black neighborhood, North St. Louis. It's 99% black, and also 99% disinvested. And so I am using this as an opportunity to be intentional and putting equity at the center to make sure that we are not only putting our money into it, but also trying to attract private investment to build up a neighborhood and change the trajectory of many families that have lived here for decades and have seen their neighborhoods just literally go to pot because previous administrations didn't give a damn. And so I am taking this opportunity to use all of the resources that are available to me to make some really transformative investments in marginalized communities. And I think that if I didn't do that as mayor, then I should go home because it is our job to make sure that we are paying attention to the least of these and lifting up those who don't have the voice or the resources to be able to move forward and live healthy and productive lives.
Phoenix is a relatively young city. We have grown quickly recently, but we still have a chance, I think, to define our future, and we come with a great base. Our city is named from the mythical bird that rose from the ashes, and we really find that Phoenix is a great place to rise and to make your own way. We're transforming our economy right now. Our moderator had mentioned we have major investments in the semiconductor sector. We're also really investing in electric vehicles and other advanced industries, and we want to make sure everyone has a chance to get into those high-wage, good jobs that have great benefits. We have some wonderful partnerships with our community colleges, including a semiconductor quick start boot camp. We just had a great all-women class graduate, and actually our First Lady came out and highlighted that program and partnership with the idea that just because you don't look like the people who used to have the job doesn't mean it's open, it's not a good career path for you. And as well, these are jobs that didn't exist before. We have a pretty significant autonomous electric industry in our community, so you can get your groceries delivered by an autonomous vehicle. I just went on my first ride through downtown in a vehicle that drove itself, which was great fun, just seeing the steering wheel turn itself. So we're seeing great transformation, and we want to make sure that people who are graduating today have the chance to control a fleet of autonomous vehicles or whatever are the career paths that didn't exist when we all were graduating, but we hope will be great opportunities for the people of Phoenix. So an exciting time for us.
Fantastic. To our panelists, thank you so much for joining us today. We've said this as we open up Smart City Expo USA on yesterday, that a smart city is one that's inclusive, it's equitable. It's a city that's focused on eradicating homelessness as well as hunger and poverty. And it sounds like you're working to do that, and we have a tremendous partner in the State Department to help facilitate those actionable things that we want to get done. And I appreciate you for being present on today, and we look forward to continued conversations. Would you join me in giving our panelists a hand?